Hey, hi everyone, welcome back to Automation eLearn. This is Suresh here. Guys, while working on Git and GitHub, we create a new branch from any other existing branch and do the code changes. So every code change that we do, it must be in one or another feature branch only. So just like any other branch, default branch on GitHub is also a branch, but it has a special purpose. We will discuss what is the default branch on GitHub and what is the special use of it. When we create a new repository either on GitHub or you initialize a project on your local using git command, then there is a default branch. There is a one branch that is created automatically and that branch is set as a default branch. So by default, name of the primary branch or default branch is usually main or master, depending on your repository settings or the convention that is being followed in the project. So let me walk you through what is the default branch. I'll show you on the GitHub. So let's jump on GitHub. This is my GitHub account. So I'm logged in as a Suresh Dubey. And here, like I mentioned earlier, if we create a new repository or if we initialize any project on your local using git command, then we get a default branch, the one branch, a single branch that will be created automatically, and that will be treated as a default branch. So here, if I go and create a new repository, so let's give a name as a test1212 and let's mark it as a public for now and create repository. So my repo test1212 is created under Suresh Dubey account, and here we have, since this is a brand new repository, nothing is in there, no file or folders are available here. So it is showing us a few commands by which we can add something to this repository, or we can also create a file directly here on GitHub. So let's click on create a new file, give some name like abc.txt and commit changes. So what we did, we created a repository, added one file abc.txt, and here we can see the list of all the branches. So by default, one branch is available, which is main. Earlier it used to master, but recently it has been changed as a convention. Like now going ahead, the default branch that will be created would have a name as a main. And here you can see this branch main is marked as a default branch. So we have not created this main manually, it has created automatically. And since this is the only branch available under this repository, this is marked as a default branch. So now let's create one more branch over here saying feature1. So here I'm creating a new branch called feature1 from main branch. Feature1 is created. Let's go to home page of this repository, and here now I have two branches. One is main, which was created automatically along with the repository, and feature1 that I have just created now, but still main is the default branch that is marked as here. So no matter how many branches we create manually, the branch which is created by default would be treated as a default branch. Though we can change this, I will talk this in another video. We can change the default branch. Let's say currently main is the default branch, but I want to make feature1 as a default branch. I can do this. I can easily do this. I'll talk about this in next video. But here we need to understand, like, the default branch is the one that is created along with the repository, or when you initialize the project on your local. So one branch will be created and that will be treated as a default branch. Why do we get default branch when we created a repository called 1212? Why I got main as a branch? Can't we create a repository without any branch? So answer is no, because every change, every code change or every addition has to do in one or another feature branch only, the branch only. Here the main is the one branch, feature1 is the another branch. So either currently I have two branches, I can make my changes either in the main branch or in the feature1 branch. Every other change has to be part of one or another branch only. So when we create a brand new repository, we get a default branch, by default one branch is created, and as a standard that is marked as a default branch. Here we can see here, if you go to see all branches, then this is the list of all the branches that we have under this repository, and here main is marked as a default. Now look at what are the different benefit, what is the purpose that we have a default branch in our repository. So there are 5 important purposes that I have noted down. There may be few more. Top 5 would be this one. One is initial commit destination. Like when you create a new repository, the first commit that you make is on the default branch. We cannot have a repository without any branch. Like I mentioned earlier, your changes has to be part of one or other branch only. So upon creating a new repository, we get a default branch. So this would be your initial commit destination, and going ahead you can create a new branch using the default branch, how I created feature 1 using main branch. Next is the reference point. So the default branch is often used as a reference point for other branches or pull request within the repository. So like I created feature 1 from main. So feature 1 is the copy of main branch, and then on top of it I can make my changes. So this is default branch is going to be a reference point to create a further branches, or if you are dealing with the pull request in your repository, then also your pull request should be targeting to the default branch. So new feature branch are often created from the default branch only, and pull requests are made to merge the changes back to the default branch only. Next is public visibility. So when user visit a GitHub repository, they are generally directed to the default branch by default. This makes the default branch a significant entry point for the user who are exploring the project or repository. So let me show you. If I'll navigate to my repository, then see here by default the main branch is selected, and all the changes and the code file whatever I will have in the default branch will be visible. I am not directly landing on feature 1 branch. No, this is not like this. When I go to repository homepage, by default the default branch here, in this case main branch, would be shown. So that is meant for public visibility by default. CI/CD and automation. So many continuous integration and continuous deployment pipeline and automation workflows like GitHub Actions are configured using the default branch only. This branch is frequently used as a target for automation testing and deployment process. So if you have a Jenkins job where CI/CD is configured, or you have a GitHub Actions where you want to validate your code change against the test and other checks, then probably the default branch in the GitHub in your repository would be the reference point in this case as well. Last but not the least, the production code. So this is one of the very important purpose of having a default branch. The code present in the default branch is often considered to the deployment to the production and to the end user. So here I can play with the code and logic in my feature 1, but I should not be doing this in main branch, because this is the default branch, and wherever my code has been released so far or deployed on multiple servers or released to the end user, the code which is present under main branch here in this case, which is the default branch. So any kind of new implementation that I need to do, I should be doing as a part of feature 1 or any other feature branches. It should not be done in the default branch. So this is meant for the production code. So generally, either you will see in your repository, in your project repository, you will see either main or master is marked as a default branch. Like I mentioned earlier, GitHub allows repository owners to change the default branch to any other existing branch in the repository. For example, I want to create feature 1 as a default branch, that I can do. So I will talk about this. I will explain this in my next video. So guys, I hope you have learned something new today from this video. You can reach out to me if you have any doubts or any other queries. Please subscribe to this channel to learn many other concepts and features. Thank you for running this one. Thank you.